Good evening. Apologies for not staying on top of this channel. A lot of IRL stuff happened last month, but hopefully I can get back onto the swing of things. So, in making a young adult fiction, one of the first things that you have to do is figure out, okay, where do you want the story to start? Now, again, as I mentioned, I started with several different stories, and I at some point decided to put the stories together. And then in putting the stories together, I actually had to change some of the facts, because my original story started in my actual hometown, and I don't want to dox myself, so I had to pick another place. And the place that I picked was San Francisco. Now, I have to admit, I am no expert in what was it like living in San Francisco during these time periods, because I've never lived there. So this is like all speculation. It's all, I did all the internet research, trying to figure out what happened here, what happened there. And I also created a fictional family. So the family that I talk about, it doesn't exist. It's fiction. So this, let me start here. So the matriarch of this family in San Francisco went through the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. The story that I have is her family came to New York City through Ellis Island, and then at some point, for whatever reason, the family split. Some of the family stayed in New York City, some of the family moved out west. And her and her parents, it was a big family, her parents, brothers and sisters. She had brothers and sisters. This earthquake happened, and some members of her family passed away. In the aftermath of this earthquake, I did find out there was the second wave of the Black Plague, the bubonic plague, as it's formerly called, and the rest of her family passed away. So it was just her and her parents in the aftermath of this earthquake and the second wave of the bubonic plague. So, and at that point, they're like, you know what? We need to. I know we burned down the bridge with our family members in New York City. We can't survive, just the three of us here. So they decided to go back to New York City, try to reconnect. But then, as we know, like 1929, we had the Great Depression. Right after 1941, we had the World War II. After that, Korean War. After that, we had the Vietnam War. So all these things happened. They're like, they kept putting it off. And then 1988 is the bulk of my story. One of her grandchildren was going to get married to a man from New York City. Hint, hint. But she's not related to him. Don't worry. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But his childhood friend introduced him. And the childhood friend said, I think we're related. Not the man that she married, but his best friend. She and his best friend might be related. So 1988, they had their wedding in New York City because that's where he's from. And they went to Ellis Island, and the backstory is their family came to this country due to the potato famine in Ireland. So, and I hope I got the timelines right, I hope. They went to Ellis Island, the matriarch of the San Francisco family, and this childhood friend of her future husband, they got together, they went to Ellis Island, they went through all the paper records, and boom, first name, last name, birthday, county of Ireland, it matches. So, yeah, and everybody who was at Ellis Island when this happened, they really, everybody's, they're like, oh my gosh, this family finally got reunited, after all this time. It's 83 years, or 82 years, because this is like before the earthquake, 1 year before the earthquake. Oh my gosh, this family's back together again. So the story goes, every year after that, some members of the New York City family does go to San Francisco, celebrate Thanksgiving for them. The families who can't, they go over to the family from San Francisco goes to New York City and has Christmas over there. So they take turns. Because obviously this when you're looking at 83 years, that's a lot. And the family from San Francisco, the way I set it up, the matriarch has 3 times 0, 3 times 10 grandchildren. So you can just imagine there's absolutely no way you can have the whole family, the extended family come together for Thanksgiving. So they split their time. They decide, okay, this year this half of the family will go here, this half of the family will go over to San Francisco, the other half of the family will go to New York City for Christmas. So that's part of the story here. And then Long Beach earthquake happens, and luckily, I didn't know, because I figure, 1906, I probably, KILLED off most of the family. So 1989, the way I had this story set up, everybody survives. I mean, some of them are really, really badly injured, and they're gonna have to deal with the consequences of those injuries for the rest of their lives. But because the matriarch, she went through this, she lost everything. They did not tell the matriarch how bad these injuries were. But I wanted to set this up where, everybody in this family did survive. And the couple that got married the year before, 1988, they came here. Surprise! She's expecting a baby, so he's like, another great grandchild is on the way. So make it like a little bit more lighthearted for this one. And so that's how the story starts. The story starts in 1996 San Francisco earthquake. There's a wedding in 1988. The year later, we have an earthquake, and then the person who got married the year before, or that year, actually, I think she was engaged to marry, something like that. But anyway, she's gonna have a baby. Her grandchild who just got married, it's gonna have a baby. So I did that. And I do go more further. Sad to say, there is something about 2001 that happened, heartbreaking. By that point, I mentioned, the matriarch passed away by then, so she does not know what happened after that. But 2001, one of the planes that was hijacked did crash into a Pennsylvania field, and everybody perished. And I did mention in that part of the story that some members of this family were on that flight. And I go on for the aftermath. So anyway, I know, sadness, happiness, kind of, and then the sadness again. So it's kind of, so that's the kind of a timeline of what I've done here. So I'm gonna leave it at that. There's a lot more to this story. So who is this family from New York City? I'll talk about that in the next episode. So yeah, it's so these these stories. Some stories are like fantasy, sci-fi, but mine is more like historical. Not necessarily historical romance, but more like this is stuff that happened in history, but this family is fiction, completely fictional. I made it up off the top of my head because I wanted to tell the story. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I shall see you in my next episode where I talk about the family from New York City. Take care.